Join us for a fascinating discussion with a real-life Zen master from the Buddhist Temple of Toledo, Rinsen, who is the abbot of an amazing, beautiful temple. And we will discover that mindfulness is not exactly what you think.
The Elven Star Podcast. And now, your host, Kevin Ferry.
I'd like to welcome Rinsen Weik Roshi, abbot of the Buddhist Temple of Toledo.
All right, Kevin, thank you for having me here today. It's lovely to join with you in this format or any other, frankly. It's good to see you again.
This is awesome. I have been anticipating our talk for several weeks, and I'm really excited to have you on. I've gotten to know you a little bit through a couple of different legal conferences. Surprise, surprise, a lawyer conference inside of a Buddhist temple, but we can talk about that a little bit later. That's a pretty cool thing that you do amongst many. But first of all, I would just like to start by having you tell us a little bit about your journey as a professor of jazz, a master jazz player who actually has your master's in jazz music, as I understand it.
True.
Studying Zen Buddhism for 40 years, and also a 5th degree black belt in Aikido.
Oh, and you spite me. It's a 6th degree now. Goodness me.
It sounds, well, maybe it's, I have no idea, but it's just crazy how much a human can accomplish.
Well, I tell you, Kevin, the thing is for me, I'm assuming we can speak frankly here, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So I feel very strongly, I mean, I don't know with certainty that this is the way the universe is and stuff, but what the Buddha teaches about rebirth, lines up with what I experience in this life and in this consciousness. I only know this consciousness up to now. I make no claim to anything other than that. However, one of the facts about me is I was born, and the earliest memory I have is my little play teddy bear kind of character was a musician, a priest, and a martial artist. So even my imaginal life, way, pre-linguistic or just when language came in line, I was already kind of loaded with, you can say genetic inheritance or whatever, it's fine. There's lots of ways to frame it. Chance, sure, whatever. But I've been doing these same 3 things for a very long time. And I feel very strongly that, at least for me, in my experience, the martial arts is yang, It's very powerful, it's very strong, and it's very physical in its conditioning. Music is yin. It's very creative and delicious and, subtle, Now, I started playing heavy metal, but still, it was yin for me as a young man, all right? But right in the center is awakening. See, Zen is what's right in the center of that thing. And so for me, these are not actually 3 contrary things. These things balance and inform and each other. And frankly, when I get looking back, there's times when I get a little saturated in one, the other one rushes up, and all 3 of these things keep me humble. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I bet. How do you split your time between these 3? Does one predominate?
Oh, that is a very good question. I've had different answers to that over the decades. What I would say is that I don't try to balance a given day. A day is far too small a frame to work with for myself. I mean, I plan the days and so on, but the smallest unit of measurement I think of is a week, right? That's like the smallest increment. So when I sit down to think about the flow of time and what I'm going to allocate myself to, I really do think 20 years out, 10 years out, 5 years out, 3 years out, a year out, quarters, right? And when it gets into quarters, I'm thinking very specifically, and then months, and then weeks. And so from that perspective, it's more of like a balanced year or a balanced season. The temple functions on 90-day training periods, give or take. It roughly lines up with the seasons. So what I really do is I consider all the different areas of interest and the different enterprises that I'm engaged with. The temple, the Great Heartland Sangha, the Buddhist Temple of Toledo it's an organization, it's an institution. So there's a lot of things just within that need attention. Thank God I don't have to do all of that, but I am in charge. I'm one of the major voices helping to determine what gets focused on. So the teams need to have very clear outcomes that they're working with, and they need to know why, and they have to have the principles behind them. And this is all very transparent and clear. And the best ideas win the day. It doesn't matter where they come from, as long as they're believable. I'm playing in the key of Ray Dalio right now. Right, he's had a big influence on my way of thinking about organizing these things. And so really, and then in my professor life, so I'm a professor, and so that's a whole realm, And there, I'm not the big heavy at all. I'm just one of the faculty guys. I'm the guitar professor in a third tier institution, state school. We help a lot of urban kids, a lot of first generation college folks. It's a commuter school. A lot of the kids have jobs. You know what I mean? I'm not in the Ivies here. I went to very high end schools. New England Conservatory is top tier stuff. But when I'm there, I think semester. Okay, what does this semester need? So I have, say, a weekly club gig somewhere, and then I've got like a couple of concerts that are I try to spread them out a little bit. And then, my martial training, so I think about, all right, what are the seminars this season? So, it's kind of a little bit like a strategy game, and fortunately I have, in my Aikido world, I have a successor. His name is Andy Jogan Lesnowitz, fantastic guy. I gave the dojo to him. I'm still the guiding teacher, but it's his shop. He's the head instructor. And so I can float in and help guide and teach and stuff, but I'm not doing the day-to-day like I did for 20 years plus, see. And then at the temple, I've got disciples that are empowered and that are helping with the teaching work and the organizing work, and they have skills that I completely lack, anything mathy or accounting wise or any of that stuff. I'm just a goofball, so building teams and empowering them and having clarity around what they're doing and why. And then, when I'm at the university, I'm one of the team members, so I'm not the big guy there at all. In fact, I'm a lecturing professor. So my main gig is working with the students, which is what all these three things have in common. In all of these, I'm a dedicated student and practitioner of these things, but I help people understand them and encounter them. So from that perspective, I just kind of move in these different realms, helping people, and the variety of it for me is quite delicious. I enjoy it very much.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
And as a teacher in these three different areas, what can you tell us about the young people today? You're right. We get a little bit older, and then we can either be that generation that says, "Oh, these kids, they don't do this, and their shortcoming is this," or we can recognize these qualities that these newer, younger generations have, and these qualities that are coming at a time maybe when we as members of part of nature need these qualities the most. So I'm just wondering what you see as someone who's a mindfulness practitioner in a huge way, what you see with this younger generation coming up and what they're bringing to our world at this time.
Well, I'm in touch with more young people than I think most dudes my age are. I'm a solid Gen Xer. I'm 57 at this moment, born in 69, January 1st, 1969. That puts me in a certain zone. I grew up without the internet. I think you can perhaps relate, and yet because of what I do, I'm constantly in touch with a whole new crop of 18-year-olds and, at the university and stuff. And, on one hand, people are people, they're all Homo sapien and they're all, wired pretty much the same. From my Buddhist perspective, the samsaric mind is there. There's no generational escape from this. I wish it was true. I'd love it. I still see the samsaric grip of delusion, fully in play. They have there's certain qualities that I'm running into that are very concerning to me. You're right. Like I'm concerned about the attention span. And this is something that hits all the areas. Okay. The Aikido tends to attract athletic people. Okay. Athletic people tend to be in their body. And so when it gets physical, they're there. And that's a huge advantage. It's a huge advantage, So the young people that I run into in the martial world, they're there, but they're a subset of people that would even wander into a dojo. You know what I mean? This is not like back in the day when Bruce Lee movies were out and Kung Fu was on TV and everybody wanted to do this. Those days are gone. Now it's MMA, cage fighting, very aggressive. Aikido is very elevated compared to that. Very, very evolved, I would say, I think, So anyway, the young people that are there, pretty solid. The young people at the university that I'm really concerned about, and it's this lack of capacity to put their mind where they want it and hold it there. There's a lack of resilience and grit, and there's some kind of I think a greater gap. I mean, I don't know, but it does seem to me to be fair to say that as the time has worn on, and perhaps this is a pandemic effect or something, some people posit these theories. Isolation during these formative years, mixed with the overabundance of technology and us not quite really understanding what that's doing to us, and et cetera. Kind of a storm there, that could account for it. But one of the things that I really work with these kids on is emotional stability, right? Like if you're going to get up and play some Bach on your fiddle, you got to bring it, man. The thing ain't going to play itself. And, you have to perform. Right. So everything that I do is perform. You have to show up and do the thing or do the thing or do the thing. You have to do the damn thing. Right. So I do feel that that the ability to concentrate is they're more acclimated to when something is pulling their attention. Let's say it like this. Okay. If you're swiping through and all these alluring and scary videos are they're basically pulling the chi out of you, right? Your attention is getting drawn like a vampire or something. Okay. It's death by 1,000 pleasant distractions, you see. So they get acclimated to having the thing there and it pulls them. Okay. So for example, if you read a book, that old fossil line technology that I'm so fond of, if you actually read a book, you create the images when you're reading the thing, see? And it's a completely different activity of mind, see? And so what I find is that they're highly acclimated to the thing pulling their attention out and having very short, fast, bang, 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 bang. They're not really acclimated to reading and concentrating and generating internally the visions and the visualizations, you see? And so this is having, I feel, an erosive effect. It's eroding their capacity to focus on their goal, their capacity to decide what they want and go for it, see? Their capacity to be intimate with reality when it's not all, peak moments or something like this, you see? So yeah. I do think that's a thing, and so I teach mindfulness. I teach, which is basically a harvesting of a component of Zen training, if we're frank about it, right? So I mean, I help a lot of kids like this, and the good thing is, and this is very positive, when they get a taste of what it is to be a little bit more of the master in the house, they fucking love it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they go, oh wow, and I've seen their ability to pivot, actually, once you can crack through, it's quite fast.
Yeah, I think when they get a little taste, they realize that they've been under the spell of something that is a little bit poison, and this taste is like an elixir that, ooh, that's yummy. Let me get some more of that.
I think so.
And from what I just heard you say, it sounds like with technology pulling kids in and drawing their attention in one way, it's like they're living more and more in a world of abstraction rather than feeling what it feels like to do real things in the world. Like you said, show up and do stuff. Let's show up and
Yeah.
do things.
It's very much a consuming experience, So like you're watching all the little short video things, right? And so it's like, I like it, I'll stay. I don't like it, I leave. I like it, I'm bored, I'm gone. There's an instant jettison, all right? And the interesting thing is from the teachings of Buddha, okay, the Buddha said very, very specifically and over again that the eye is on fire to see. The ear is on fire to hear, right? The nose is on fire to smell, and the tongue to taste, and the body to feel, and the heart to have emotions, and the mind to think, you see. So it's like this image that there's these sense gates they have craving. The traditional teaching is that you have the organ of perception, which is the eye, and then you have the object of perception, say the cup here. Okay. And there's posited a sight consciousness. This is called the divided mind system in the Lankavatara Sutra. Okay. So the idea is that, and it's a very, very interesting way of thinking about things, that the sight, the object of sight, the mind of sight, the consciousness, sight cognition, you could say, when those three elements meet, then an experience occurs. And that experience gets sent up to like headquarters. And so then we have the experience of the seer, or the hearer, or the taster, the feeler, the thinker, right? And so that sense of the self as a fixed permanent self that is the receiver and adjudicator of experience, we take to be a fixed thing, like that's me. If that's not me, what would be me? Of course I'm me. But actually, if you sit very deeply and pay very clear attention, awakening, or Kensho Satori, as the Zen tradition understands it, expresses it, teaches it, when you see that self-sense is also something that's rising in mind, it's also an object of awareness, that feeling of ourselves as a self, this implied self, which in mundane daily life, of course, it's nice to see it, Kevin.
Yeah.
But an ultimate reality perspective, that's not all there is to it. Of course, that's there, that stays there, but there's other levels to this thing, you see. And so why am I talking about all this? Well, one, what I see is that this technology is playing into this sensory gate on fire thing. Okay, it's like we're diabetics designing sugar treats. See, it's just what it is. It just draws and draws and draws and draws. And I understand, at least I think I understand, the profit motive. Eyes on screen, engage in the platform is money, honey, right? So the whole thing is optimized for this incentive, which is not aligned with human flourishing, right? Human flourishing, the good of all life, sentient life, insentient experience, let's say insentient beings, sentient beings, it is not just exclusively profit oriented. Heresy, I speak, but I mean, there it is, right? So it's like one of the things you speak about, what is the generation bringing? This is the Gordian knot. One of them, I think, that the generations hence, and maybe now, are going to have to grapple with, is this whole business about the illusion of money, and society and how we organize ourselves. These things are crushingly important. And my perspective is that as long as it's still coming from a diluted mind stream, there's no way to win. It's like you go to the casino doesn't care if you play poker or blackjack or whatever those other things are. The house is going to win, man. Okay, so like when the diluted mind is driving, it's going to be a diluted trip, see?
Yeah.
So my hope in part of my life's work really is to try to get people aware that Kensho and awakening enlightenment is not just a bullshit fairy story. It's actually it's real. Like awakening and enlightenment is not for other people, and it's not just a myth. It's an actual, livable, very human reality. And the more of us that can get to this, the better off for all of us.
Yeah, for sure. I as you know, trial lawyer and picking a lot of juries and meeting a lot of people. More and
Yeah.
more, I'm coming across people on in various stages of autism during jury selection.
Yeah.
And I've come to start to think of these folks as the people that are unaffected by money, that are completely aware of insincere people, so they can smell BS a mile away.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not authentic, they're not going to be in your zone. They're not going to want to deal with you.
Yeah.
So, I approach them very carefully. And when I feel like I've got a little bit of trust developed between the two of us, I'll ask them, what is your superpower? But I think
Yeah.
for what your point is, it's almost as if nature has started to deliver people with autism as sort of an antidote to the things that are really causing us to fail as a species. I mean, if you listen to some,
Mm-hmm.
they'll tell you we're in population collapse and we're literally on the brink of extinction as a species because we so poisoned ourselves and we've become infertile and all these other things. And of course,
Mm-hmm.
mindfulness is a way out, because when you're mindful, you'll be thinking about, what am I putting in my body? What am I putting in my senses? What am I spending my time looking at, listening
Mm-hmm.
to, and so on and so forth. So I just think mindfulness is obviously the gateway to freedom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that right now, you told me off air a couple weeks back, we talked, that you're studying deeply the Lankavatara Sutra.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. That's
mentioned it in passing just a moment ago, but I just took a quick look at it just so I could kind of have a general sense. But
oh.
what I could see is it's very close to the Tao, the Taoist approach. Of the coming out of nothing, the naming of the 10,000 things, and then everything is like, okay, we can only know things if it's high or low. It's all contrast, but
Yeah.
it's all one thing.
Well,
Uh,
see, here's the thing about it. It's very astute of you to tune into that. But a couple of things. One, I would like to talk about what mindfulness actually is, as the Buddha taught it. That's kind of interesting. And then two, this business of the Lankavatara is teaching mind. Okay. What we don't realize is that the experiences that rise in mind are mind itself, and that part of the trap of the deluded mind is that when a form rises in consciousness, think of mind like, say, this big pool or something, right, a field, and then an experience rises. So a sight or a sound or a feeling or whatever, thoughts, they kind of bubble up, right? And then discrimination happens. So form rises. This is what the Lankavatara teaches. Form rises, okay? Discrimination occurs. And then language, words, seal it in, okay? And this is the process of the mind. Now, it's not evil or sinful or bad or wrong or anything. It's just not complete. This is the thing, okay? I'm goddamn glad I can think and see and hear and feel and taste. And yeah, I choose this over that every day. It's good. But that's not all there is, you see. So the business of naming things, like, so there's say an image of the pug rises, and you say, good dog, good dog. See? So there's this kind of qualifier to the qualified, and there's this image, and it's a thing now in our mind. Okay. And the thing is that, not that it's real, but it's not true. Okay. It's real in the sense that that is our experience. Like when you have a dream, it's real. You are experiencing falling off the cliff or being chased by the tiger or whatever, It's what's true is you're cozy in bed. Okay. So the Tao that can be named is not the eternal Tao, opens the Tao Te Ching. Yeah. Okay, so it's talking about the language. It's the fixing of things that the mind does. And we use as language as part of what solidifies things in a way that is very practically useful in a mundane way, sure. But in terms of unlocking the causes of suffering, it's quite problematic. So what happens is that there's as opposed to this mind that kind of takes things on the mundane level of things rising, being instantly perceived, labeled, I like it, I don't like it, I don't care about it, positive, negative, neutral. And we just spin in that circuit, and you've got all these senses feeding experiences that are getting processed very fast this way, and it amalgamates into an implied self that's kind of in the driver's seat of all this in some way, that itself is also simply a sense that rises in mind. Well, what the hell, man? There's also storehouse consciousness. That's the last one the sutra talks about. That's the sort of the collective unconscious, the personal unconscious, the storehouse, the place where karmic seeds go and bubble up, see? So that's a whole topic. But what happens is the language fossilizes things. Now, the prajna, to get a little technical, prajna can perceive Buddha nature. Prajna means wisdom. So we say like your dharma eye, a person's dharma eye. See, when we study Zen, we study koans, we're talking about dharma eye. Open the dharma eye. Be able to see directly. Realize, actually, is the best word. You realize the ultimate nature of self, the ultimate nature of the cosmos itself. The cosmos and you are not separate. But not just as an idea running through thoughts, but as an actual realized experience. And that the realization of this is what the sutra is pointing to. It calls it the turning about in the inmost consciousness, say. So all these senses are typically, as we were saying earlier, Kevin, they're always going out and they're trying to feed. They feed along channels of experience, yeah? So what has to happen is in the Zen tradition, in the meditation form that we do, we take those arrows, instead of them going out, we take them and put them in. Temporarily, but powerfully, so that we end up looking into the mind itself. So the question of who's hearing, who's feeling, who's winning, who's losing, who's oppressed, who's victorious, who is it that is having these experiences, you see? And so what happened is that this character named Bodhidharma, in something like the 5th century, we suppose, credibly so, brought this Lankavatara Sutra and the awakening of the Buddha, the enlightenment experience, up into China from India. And interestingly, scholarship holds forth that this Bodhidharma dude was a prince and everything, but he was actually Persian. So he kind of, there was this Indo-Aryan movement and so on of populations we could talk about, but what's interesting is he brought the actual enlightenment experience up into China. And what Chinese had was the scholarship and the ideas and the sutras and stuff, right? But they didn't actually have the awakening. Now, in China, you have Confucianism and Taoism. These are the kind of complementary antagonisms of the indigenous life at that time, you see. And the Confucians want everything to be very ordered and clear. The people suffer because they don't know exactly what to do, so tell them exactly what to do, kind of thing. Rituals and rites and stuff. And it's got a point. The antagonist to that is the Taoists. People suffer because you're telling them what to do all the time. Leave them alone. Just trust your true nature, kind of stuff. So a huge affinity with the teaching of the Buddha from India up into the Taoist. And actually the Taoists and the Buddha teaching got it together and had a love child, and that's Chan, you see. And Chan is a mispronunciation of what's called jhana. And the jhana is the states of concentration that the Buddha taught. There are levels to it. We can talk about it. So the Chinese folks mispronounced jhana and called it Chan. And then centuries later, the Japanese folks mispronounced Chan and called it Zen. So that's actually what Zen means, is this meditation is concentration business, you see.
So when you talk about Zen and being this concentration business,
Mm-hmm.
is it a withdrawing of the senses
Mm-mm.
or is it something else? Because a lot of people think that in this America run on Duncan culture that we have,
Oh God, yeah.
the way to defend against it and to get some of your sanity back and to get your nervous system under control is you've got to withdraw and you've
Mm-hmm.
got to just find quiet and peace and all that. I mean, I believe in connecting with nature 100%. I think you do too.
Sure. Yeah.
But there's got to be more to it than just withdrawing the senses, because we have these senses for a reason.
Yeah, and also it's just not the case. I mean, it doesn't actually lead to kensho, as I would recognize it, as the tradition I hold would recognize it. It's not just my opinion, by the way. I think it's important for your listeners to understand. I'm not just a guy winging this, although of course I'm winging things, but not really, because actually I'm a fully transmitted. It's called Roshi, is the title. Now, not everybody who has the title is like this elevated person, but they ought to be, goddammit. And it does mean that my teacher recognized my awakened eye to match his, and his was recognized by his teacher, and so on. So I'm actually the 87th generation lineage holder from Buddha to my teacher to myself. So my successors are 88th generation. And why does that matter? It just means that there's some check to what I'm saying as having been vetted by at least one strand of the lineage. I'm not just making the shit up.
Right.
Okay. So here's the thing. Okay. And this is very important. And there are many beautiful meditation practices, and they all do exactly what they say they're going to do. Okay. So it's not like there's just this one true way, and that's the only thing that matters. If you go to the gym, say, and there's a squat rack and there's a bench press and there's all these Nordic machines or whatever they have today, it's like, which is the true, well, they all do what they say they're going to do. Okay. And a lot of people do feel, and the Buddha had teachers too, they feel that the answer is to become so concentrated that you basically transcend the world and you kind of leave it away, and you're in this perfected state of non-engagement. Okay, and this deeply concentrated, formless state, and that's the deal. And so when someone practices in this way, they inevitably, it starts to show. They tend to eschew belongings. They tend to have no associations with other people. They tend to live wandering ascetics in caves. They leave society. Okay. Well, the Buddha did that stuff and found, that doesn't really resolve it, does it? Because there's still suffering there. So when you go into the trance state, say, okay, when you're in the trance, it's all groovy and all, but when you come out, everything still sucks. And in fact, your skin is thinner because you've removed yourself from the stimulus, right? So when you come back, you're, dare I say, weaker. And that's not acceptable to me. So I don't want to just use meditation as a way to corral myself into emotional peaks of some kind or the next. I don't want to start feeling very devotional and fervent about the Buddha helping me from beyond or something like that. That's just emotions rising in mind. I mean, they're pleasant enough. It's better than being terrified, but that's not going to do it. Going into a blackout or a trance is not going to do it. Okay. So what has to happen is clear perception of the immediate intimate moment. So it's like a great mirror, right? A great, huge, vast mirror where your head used to be. And there's no self up there running the thing. It's just this beautiful, luminous diamond mirror, man. And this diamond mirror just reflects a sensation arises, the sound of this voice and image perhaps rises, and then it completely, immaculately, and intimately meets it, but the mirror doesn't cling. See, the mirror doesn't go mine and grab and hold it. There's no attaching. The mirror doesn't get attached. The mirror doesn't cling to shit. No. That neither Does the mirror like disdain? The mirror does disdain nothing. The mirror doesn't turn away, doesn't recoil. No, not at all. And also, the mirror should not fog out, right? Mirror gets all foggy. You're looking, but you're not seeing.
So that
You're hearing, but you're not
fogginess,
listening.
that
Huh?
fogginess that you talked about, fogging out, would be
Yeah,
the person that just wants to withdraw the senses and just fog out.
could be.
And
Yeah.
the mirror,
So
to me, reminds me of totally a different sort of type of lineage to mindfulness, but Terence McKenna, who was, a mushroom psilocybin guy, but he taught that this whole existence, it's all about the felt presence of immediate experience,
yeah,
which I think it sounds like Zen.
yeah. I mean, I've never goofed around with those things. I'll have a taste of scotch now and then, but that's the extent of it for me. I mean,
Sure,
being
sure.
an athlete the whole way along and performing at peak levels, I didn't get involved in that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
However, uh, I've seen a very few people for whom those kinds of experiences can catalyze practice.
Right,
And I've seen a number of folks for whom those kinds of experiences end up with a life that's less workable over time.
right.
So
Yeah.
the thing is that, like, what I would say is that let's say I could pharmacologically goose you into an experience of Kensho. The problem with that is, in my view, okay, and this is what I do. I mean, I train people in this, okay. The experience of awakening is like maybe, I don't know, 30% of the trip, okay. The real shit is in integrating that into daily life. Okay, now if I just zap you with an awakening experience, say, and you go, whoa, right?
Right.
And then now you think it has to do with me goosing you because it did. And so now, well, goose me again. Well, I ain't got time for that, and where's your power?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing. Most people have natural experiences of awakening. And what I mean by that is that mirror completely reflecting and not clinging and no sense of self. Okay. This line between me and what I'm experiencing just is not there for a time. Okay. It doesn't stay like that, but so for example, a lot of people will say something like, yeah, I'll hang out and have a coffee with somebody. Yeah, lo and behold, when they were 5 or some shit, they were in the summer break, and they're laying out there and they're in the field and the kids are playing on the swing set and the monkey bars and all these things that are now probably illegal, whatever. And suddenly they just merged into the whole thing. The grass, it's like their nerves went into the earth and they weren't watching the sky. They kind of were the sky and their friends at play on the monkey bars and all this shit. Like for a flash, there was this erosion of this, I like that sound, or there's my friend Timmy, or all that stuff. There was just boo, right? Just this wisdom mirror reflecting purely. And it's so powerful that the dude can be like 60 years old and recount that like it was a minute ago.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's an awakening experience. It's just that our culture doesn't recognize that stuff. We don't know what to do with it. We don't recognize it. We don't value it. Zen is a very human thing, okay? It's taking a very natural human experience like orgasm or napping or something very physical and factual, digestive process, whatever. But it's taking it and showing us how to train this. So that when you have this big wisdom mirror experience, it doesn't obliterate the fact that my name is Rinsen and your name is Kevin.
And
That stays.
that we all have to wash the dishes. We all
Yeah,
have to go to the bathroom. We all
that's
have
right.
to do mundane things.
And we
And
all
to
have to
me,
love each other.
and love each other.
Yeah, we have to take care of each other, goddammit.
And yeah, exactly. That's where that oneness comes in. And when you see yourself in everyone, which obviously was some of the teachings of Jesus, then that guy in the street that's homeless, you're going to have compassion for. And if there's a way to help, maybe you'll do it. Maybe you'll go out one day in the middle of the pouring rain and just say, "Hey man, what's going on?" what's your name? Rather than just toss the dollar out the window.
Yeah, it can look all kinds of ways, you know.
yeah.
It can look all kinds of ways. Here's the thing, though. So, you know, it's important to know how to move into the space of no self. We talk about form and emptiness. We talk about relative and absolute, okay? And these are modes of perception. So when you're in a dualistic state, then you see the homeless dude and you feel, I'm going to help that guy, or I ain't got time for this now and I wish him well. Fine. When you're in the absolute, okay, there's no compassion there because there's no self and there's no other. There's no knowing. But the result of that is compassion, because when you come back, you realize directly that actually every wave is the same ocean, expressed uniquely and temporarily, but the same damn ocean. So karuna is the term, the technical term in the Dharma for compassion. And what the necessary for this is prajna. Prajna means wisdom. What you're pointing to, wisdom means you see the ocean. You see the oneness of the ocean, like for real. Okay. Then immediately you see that all the waves are the ocean. That's karuna. And each wave is you. Your most heinous antagonist, your greatest ally. All expressions of the same ocean. Okay. So compassion, wisdom, compassion. Okay. Buddha is emptiness. Dharma is thingness. Buddha Dharma is no gap. Now, the other ingredient is power. Okay. This is a vajra. So prajna, karuna, vajra. Vajra means power. Interestingly, it's a lightning bolt. I got my vajra sitting over there. It's a lightning bolt. Okay. And I'm going to grab it because it's cool. You want to see a vajra?
Yeah, I want to see a lightning bolt.
All right, I'm going to grab it. It's fun.
Zen Master lightning bolt. That sounds cool.
Yeah, that's a fun show and tell. Okay.
Oh, I've seen those in
you
temple
have.
and things. Yeah.
You have. So it's this is called a vajra. Okay.
Okay.
And this in ways that make sense to the folks who make these things expresses a lightning bolt. Okay. And it expresses power. You have to have power. Okay. Wisdom and compassion with no power is impotent. Cannot manifest anything. Can't help anybody. Too weak. You need power. And not ego power, not power over others, but capacity to function. Do you see? And this is the point, okay, that in Zen training, this is why I'm not a big fan myself of encouraging people to have pharmacologically induced states. Medical, fine, of course. But for spiritual stuff, you need the power of getting there yourself. Okay. And you need the power, not only of just getting to that experience, because experiences come and go, man. The thing is, how do I integrate this into the dishwashing, you see? And that's what the vast majority of Zen training is actually about.
Right.
I mean, I swear, I remember I started going to Zen retreats. They're called sesshin in 1987. So my first one. I was incredibly fortunate, or had past life karma or dumb luck, whatever. I was 18, and I figured out somehow what sesshin was. Actually, because a lot of my jazz mentors, they were all meditating. And my Aikido instructor that I found in Boston, he was a Zen student. It was everywhere I was looking, the heavies, the monsters that I'm like, oh man, if I could play like that or move like that, wow. They're all meditating. They're all doing Zen. So kind of inevitable, really, you know. I mean, I had to leave Toledo and go to Boston for that. But anyway, these guys are all masters, and they here's the thing. You give yourself the power, okay, when you learn to work with the mind in this mirror and concentrating your awareness on the one point and keep your damn eyes open. Hear everything. Feel everything. You're not withdrawing. You're not clinging to pleasant states or retracting from negative ones or anything like that. Okay. And every time the mirror of your mind clings to a thought or gets pulled away, you see it, acknowledge it, let it go, and come back to the breath and open that mirror. Okay. Every time you do that, it's like you went, oh, you did a curl. You build this power. Okay. This power of you to put your mind where you want it to be, which is what we were talking about with the kiddos. Yeah.
Is that shape of that Vajra lightning bolt thing? It basically is like that double ball, which is supposedly the whole shape of the energy of the universe and the energy of man coming into the Dantian, right? The center. That's kind of what that shows, right?
I could be. I don't completely track you, and I don't totally know it that way, but this is what it looks like. And the Dantian and the Hara, I mean, that's the one point, and that's the energy center of the body.
I'm just seeing two sort of balls, like energy, and these two balls feed on each other. One comes up from the earth energy, one from the sky energy, and they feed on each other in that center point, which obviously we haven't talked about that yet, but
yeah,
I've done a little bit of Zazen with you in your temple, and we focus our concentration on the center point.
Yeah, that's right. That's
where
right.
we get our power. But the other thing I wanted to comment on, when you talk about all of this, like being aware of everything and not pushing away anything from the mirror, just and not clinging to it either.
That's right, man.
It reminds me of what my Tai Chi master says when he says, the slower you can go, the faster you can go. So like the jazz guys that are like ripping, who you said meditated, or the Aikido guys who meditated, who were super powerful, that inner sort of awareness of everything allows you to have so much more oomph.
Yeah, life.
In anything.
And it can also show up as a gentle caress and a whisper. That's the lightning bolt too. It's not just being ferocious, say, right. but there's a power in it. See, your Tai Chi move, yeah? You make this, it's gentle as a feather. But if you have a real Tai Chi master and you grab a hold of that dude and say, no, you're going to go flying.
Yeah.
You're going to go, wah, and you're going to go, whoop. I can attest, all right? I've been both ends of that deal. I know it quite well. So this is the thing. It's not power in the sense of pure just Klingon, or samurai. It can be that, but it can be gentle as a whisper. But it's the thing that makes it powerful is your actual presence. See, this is my concern with the youngins, to bring it back to that stuff, because if your mind stream has been saturated, see, humanity doesn't know what this is going to do yet. We don't know. When your mind stream has been saturated with these things that pull your senses all the time, sounds and sight, virtual reality, right? And like, if that's happening during these core like foundational developmental moments when the brain is wiring itself and all on, shit, I don't know what that's going to do.
Yeah, probably not good, because it's just an abstraction, and we end up beating all of this like God energy out of our children by having them see everything in the way that society wants it to be seen, rather than let them run out and explore all their senses in the forest with their friends and all that other jazz, the way I grew up. And when I see kids playing outside today, I'm like, yes, I saw a kid outside. That's good. Yeah. Like, it's kind of rare.
I know what you mean. I mean, for me, I grew up down the street here, and it's like, you get home from school, let yourself in, grab a little something, get on your bike and go. And like, the rule is be home when the streetlights come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not saying that was the ideal way of any, I'm sure there's downsides to that, but an advantage is we had to like work our shit out, right?
Right.
If Joey's got an issue with you, well, you're going to have to figure it out.
Right.
And we did, for better and worse, but there's this contact, and that's a concern I have. A lot of the students that I'm seeing now at the university have grown up in a primarily pixelated environment that's been completely managed by their parents, say, and so their self autonomy is not so strong. And so this is one of the advantages, and I'll just pitch for college for a second, because it gives the young people an environment where they can interact with each other. And musicians have a little bit of an advantage here because you're playing in the orchestra together, yeah?
Yeah.
You're in the pep band together, huh? You're in the jazz combo. You're on a team and you're working to create this art or do this thing, see? That's a huge advantage. The kids I really feel for are the ones that don't have anything like that, and they're just, God love them, they picked computer programming as a major because it seemed like a good idea to their uncle or some shit, and
Yeah.
they're just isolated and they're like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I couldn't agree more with participating in music with others, in bringing beauty together and coherence and resonance. And like
yeah,
when you become a part of that, you
yeah.
become that wave swimming in that ocean of all these other musicians. I played in a high school band with 147 people, and
Man,
man, when we hit our stride and it sounded good, it
yeah,
was incredible. And by the way, it felt like it was effortless power.
that's right, yeah,
It was like everyone was feeding off of everyone else, and it was
that's
like,
right.
man.
That's right. And see, like,
So
here's a very important feature, okay? I mean, I'm just fresh out of a week-long retreat, as I said, and we do this every month, so,
right.
it happens. But one of the features is there's a lot of liturgy. There's a lot of ritual that happens punctuated throughout the day. So you have these deep meditation periods, and then you do walking meditation. You do 3 blocks of that, and then everybody does some chanting. And see, what's interesting about this is harmony and resonance and synchronicity and coherence and harmony, all these things. You take that meditative mind and now you have to function, and you have to function with others. Very good training, right? And so after the liturgy happens, then maybe we have the meal, and you take the meal and it's highly ritualized. It's called orioki, means just enough. Okay, orioki. So even the meal is this kind of ritualized thing, right? And if you're going to follow the shaman and go on the journey, you have to do the things. Whatever the shaman says is what you got to do. And there's reasons. That's why they're the shaman. Okay. And there's a trip. Well, the thing is that, like, if you learn how to meditate and you learn how to bring that into walking, say, functioning now, and then you learn to bring that into chanting, and doing liturgy, you got to ring the big bell or something, whatever function. It has to be right. You can be wrong. You got to get it together now. Come out of the meditation, Johnny. It's time to hit the staff and do the thing. Oh, shit. And you get good at functioning. And then you bring that even into the experience of taking a meal, right? So now when the experience of smelling and tasting is operable, it's all highly ritualized for reasons, for training reasons, you see. And then doing the dishes, say, and even a rest practice, Kevin, it's like, okay, it's now formally rest time. Rest, lay down in the rack, close your damn eyes, and practice resting. So what I learned as a young dude, right, is I learned, wait a minute, I was here for this Jedi may the force be with me stuff, right? I want these peak cool things. And what I learned was how to do the dishes and how to take a nap and how to play well with others, right? As well as these peak experiences of non-duality, and how do you integrate them?
The mundane things, like I was saying, like
Yeah.
if we're always searching for that like adrenaline boost, which is basically why we've all our kids are getting sucked into the social media because they're getting this little dopamine hit of whatever it is that they
Yeah,
like,
man.
that they resonate with, when it's just like never ending. And
Yeah.
that talk about clinging, right? They're just clinging literally to a piece of glass. So it's almost as if this technology is getting us so close to the ancient teachings that eventually we'll see it. And I'm thinking
I would love it.
maybe AI is going to be that mirror. It's going to be that really clear mirror where we'll see that that's just the stuff, because it's not really thinking, and it's not artificial, it's human, and it's not really even intelligence, because it's just a bunch of data points where a computer has to decide, is it a 1 or a 0? And it puts it together, but it's not feeling, it's not doing, it's just giving us information. So I'm thinking maybe AI, if we look at it the right way, could be that ultimate mirror we can just look at it and say, okay, I can see what's going on, but there's a bigger reality that I have to discover for myself.
Yeah, I would love it if it worked out that way. But I tell you, when the pandemic hit, my honest first thought, and it stayed durable for a while, I thought this is, in a way, a good thing about this is humanity will finally be on the same goddamn team. We're all in this together. Obviously, it's a flu or some shit. And like, we're all people. We can all, maybe the gift of this, we'll all realize our common humanity. Boom. It didn't happen, did it?
I hoped for the same thing. And I hoped that what would bring us together was our care and concern for our children, because our children got so absolutely decimated by having to wear these masks, by not being able to be with their friends during their formative years, where they're figuring it out. And maybe, you got to punch Johnny in the nose, or you got to get punched in the nose by Johnny because you went too far, whatever it is, out in the playground where, like you said, where they work it out. So I was hoping that it was like our care and concern for our kids and how badly they were impacted by this that would bring us together. And I don't know, maybe it's happening just a little bit more slowly than we would all like.
Yeah. I would love it if the tech of the artificial intelligence or whatever brought us together. What I've seen, though, back 2,600 years ago, when everyone ate organically and lived by the sun and the cycles of nature, everyone was still fucked up. I mean, everybody was still samsaric mind, still suffering and deluded, even in those days.
Right.
All the clothing was natural fiber. All this stuff, but still. So it's kind of like what I realized is that the natural thing that people will stumble into is a concentrated state. And it's often situationally dependent. So like for me, the martial arts stuff that I started doing very young, the musical stuff that I started doing very young, I got into flow states doing this. Okay, I wasn't raised in a Zen Buddhist household by any stretch, okay? But these two disciplines, I got into a natural samadhi state. Okay, and most people, what they do is they figure out, oh, well, I'm happy when I'm doing X, and so I'll just keep doing a lot of X, and that's fine, but that doesn't produce awakening. So, but once you realize that that concentrated state is necessary but not sufficient, okay, it's not just about getting into a concentrated state and staying there, because all states are impermanent, then we can actually learn how to train that concentrated state in the absence of the exciting thing or the puzzle that captures you. You can actually get into a deeply concentrated and present mirror mind state by simply being aware of the breath. And now you're deciding. See, your volition is here, right? So your intent and your intention is what's driving it. You're not being driven by the state of the external circumstances, right? Okay. And then when that concentration becomes very strong, what we do is we take that concentrated mind and drive it into itself to see and then to interrogate very experientially this implied self. And once that occurs, now we take that experience and again integrate it. So what I hope for young people is some natural way that they can get into a flow state that's not just getting their minds getting yanked around by the screen. There's a kind of a samadhi to it there too, but it's not giving them power. It's taking their power because they're a consumer. They're being consumed actually, right? If you get into rock climbing or kayaking or playing in a rock band or something, pool, something, then you're doing the thing. This is best.
Yeah.
See, as a way in.
100%. I do some breath work and, studied with Wim Hof and all that jazz, which I think you know. And man, I'll tell you what, for anybody out there listening that feels like they just need a little bit of a reset and want to sort of discover who they are, breath work is a simple, easy way. It's simple, easy because everyone knows how to breathe. Everybody knows how to breathe. And literally that's all you're doing is paying attention. And in sitting Zazen, that's the whole game, isn't it? Just
That's
follow
the
your
entry
breath.
game. That's the entry. Yeah. I mean,
Follow it.
you use in stage one, there's 10 stages, okay, depicted by what are called the 𝗏𝗏 pictures, and they're discrete and they are real. The first stage is really concentrated awareness. That's where you're a young practitioner, and young in terms of hours on the cushion. I mean, not chronologically, but your initiate, say. They've got to learn to get their mind concentrated into a deep, concentrated place. That is not sufficient, but it is absolutely fucking necessary. You've got to get that going. And there's an immense amount of relief that comes from that. Huge cascades of relief just from stage one.
Right.
And it's not that hard. It's really not. It just takes a little gumption and a little structure. Okay. I'm a big fan of, like, if you're going to play, you got to get connected to a band. Okay. It's not just you and your guitar, or you and your guitar in a YouTube lesson or a teacher. Eventually you got to get in a band. You got to get connected. Okay. And ideally you're the weakest player in the band. That's the best, because now everyone's kicking your ass and you're getting better. See? So, like, spiritual practices like this, you have to have a guide or a mentor or several, but you got to get connected. You got to play with Duke Ellington's band or Art Blakey, or, pick your milieu, but you got to get connected, and you got to feel what it's like to be actively contributing in the presence of someone who's attained it. Okay. So, and there's many beautiful paths, right? But the thing is, what I would want for a listener, if I am your jam, connect. If I'm not your jam, find your damn jam, but you got to jam. You can't sit back and just consume the ideas. And awakening is not a matter of stacking up insights. I don't care how many insights a person has had or how many cool thoughts they've mused over. It doesn't fucking get the job done. You have to actually see into the nature of the self. That's actually awakening, you see? So, and that happens through lineage. That happens through guides. That happens through mentors who've actually done the thing, so that you can be in their presence and resonate with it. Because that's your own true nature anyway. There's nothing that anybody's given you. It's just that they are resonating so profoundly that your true nature starts to resonate right with it. And that's what's called transmission in Zen.
Right.
All right.
So the other simple thing, at least from my perspective, kind of like scratching the surface on a lot of different things. And obviously I haven't gone as 1% as deep as you have, but chanting, you mentioned, is part of what Zen does. I've done some chanting in the bhakti world, and man, does that feel good. And that doesn't take anything but like vocal cords.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, kirtan kind of stuff and devotional stuff. And, the thing is that it gets you into a flow state. It erodes this obsession with the self, and that itself is so useful and has so many benefits, But the mistake there is not that I'm hearing it from you, but you don't want to fetishize these states too much. Right. That's the thing. Okay. Right. All states are impermanent. Realization is not. When you realize the essence, the oneness, that is a durable thing. I can be concentrated. I can be not so concentrated. It comes, it goes. But the realization and awakening, that stays.
Right. This is like a basic question I probably should have asked in the beginning, but I'm going to ask nonetheless. Is for people that are freaked out over religion, that think that's a dirty word, because that's kind of seems to be what's going through our culture a little bit, is people are questioning a lot of religion. And others are saying they all have good and they all have bad, and there's different layers, right?
Yeah.
Is Buddhism considered, in your opinion, is it a religion? Is it not a religion? Is it somewhere in between the two?
Oh, sure. No, I'm happy to chat about that. I mean, even an undergrad survey class in world religions, the first thing you encounter is no one knows what the fuck a religion is. Okay. What is a religion? Let's define our terms here, Mr. Attorney. Well, it gets very fuzzy very quickly. Like what is it? Right. So what I find to be very useful is to be intellectually honest ruthlessly intellectually honest, okay? And this is the foundation of it. And this is one of the things that I really love about Zen is I'm a fairly fast gun, and everything I throw at this tradition, it's resilient. I can't say that's true for the tradition I was brought up in, okay? I can find gems there, certainly. But the big institutional organization of it, not so much. So here's what I think is important. I think it's important that I've read every word that 𝗏𝗃𝗃 Hitchens has penned. I'm very good at deconstructing bullshit. Good. I've also read Aquinas and Augustine. All right, and I know what they're saying and why, and not to mention stuff in the Eastern traditions that I'm pretty good with. All right, but see, the thing is that religion, the way I use the term, is the communal shared experience. Spirituality is the individual experience. Okay, so if I say my spirituality, well, the way I think the term is helpful, what I think that's pointing to is like I'm trusting my own experience. Okay, my spirituality, actually, jazz to me is a spiritual thing. It's part of my spirituality, right? So you could say the art of peace of Aikido is part of my spirituality. Zen is part of my spirituality. Being a committed family man, I take my marriage very seriously and my role as a father to my daughter and then my son to my parents. These things are all part of my, okay. But now the religion is there a tribe? Is there a crew? Is there a band? Are there other folks that have a shared enough spiritual experience that we can actually help each other and practice together? So each of these things, the individual and the communal, right? The communion and agency, this ancient polarity, right? Self and belonging, a self arising and also belonging. Well, which one? Okay. Well, here's what I think is true. The individual experience can be very, very healthy, right? In fact, necessary. It can go wrong. Okay. It's also very possible to have a strong spirituality that is impacted on itself and actually causing a lot of suffering. We can go feral. Happens all the time. So same thing with religion. Okay. There can be a group expression and experience that can be incredibly healthy. In fact, necessary, I advocate. But it can also go wrong. Oh, yeah. Yes, it can. Yes, it can. Okay. So here's the thing now, okay, where I think a lot of religions go kooky is they base themselves on some kind of a divine revelation from a creator that's separate from creation somehow. And they pierce the veil and they reveal some revealed truth, say. And then you have a priest class that interprets the correct way of understanding this, and you will too, say you're going to follow this rule. And this is where it gets very funny. It gets very intellectually dishonest to me, in my opinion. Okay. Whereas in Zen, you don't have beliefs in that sense. You don't have, there's no truth claims that are unverifiable. Hopefully, everything I've said today, I hope what people understand is you can experience this. Okay. You don't have to believe in a cold plunge. Get your ass in the ice water. You'll feel it for yourself, son. Okay. I don't believe in cold plunging. I can experience it. You go feel it for yourself. Freeze your ass off. You'll see, right? So Zen is like that. Now, so this is where I think religion can go horribly wrong, is you have people who have to eclipse their own individual experience and defer to an unverifiable truth claim that has got baked into it fear of eternal torment or what have you. Or, excommunication and non-belonging and all these things, you see. So I think a healthy spirituality is open to critique and being guided by lineage and mentors, even and perhaps especially if you become one of them. I have people that I look to. Yes, I do. Okay, and a healthy version of religion is a community of noble friends practicing and enlivening each other in this tradition of depth.
That's cool. That was a really cool explanation for that. I like that.
Yeah, I like it too, and I think it's workable.
Yeah, I was, I don't know, there was something about I won't name names, but there was something about the religion I was brought up in that seemed too dogmatic to me, such that at age 7, my mother, God bless her, who was raising 3 wild children on her own.
Now, you counted for 2, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So 4, yeah.
Yeah, would be running around trying to corral us all, and I would be the one that was literally hiding under the bed saying, "No, I don't wanna go." And finally, at about age 8, I said, "Hey, Mom, this religion thing seems like something I should be able to decide on when I get old enough to decide if it's for me."
Yeah.
And then she stopped bugging me from that point on.
Oh, to her credit.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
To her credit, yeah. I mean, it's interesting, and perhaps we can close with this. I mean, the Buddhist Temple of Toledo, the Great Heartland Sangha is the group, right? And the Buddhist Temple of Toledo is the local, and it's like almost no one here was raised in a Zen household. Okay, so we're what's called a convert community. So people find this, and it's usually hard won. Okay, there's always the Looney Tunes that wander in because that's fine. They come, they go. But the real practitioners, it's hard won. They grew up in some kind of tradition that they found to be insufficient for some real reason. And usually it's their inner Dharma I would say, is like kind of wincing at what's happening. And the intellectual rationale that's being fed to them doesn't really overcome their own third eye going, what the fuck is that? Yeah. Yeah. So they have to counter their culture, and they have to explore, and at great risk to their identity and familial relations and so on, perhaps, they find their way into this thing. And the difficulty of that is that it's obviously that's hard won. That's a challenge. But the advantage is they find their seat themselves. This is very strong. Okay. Now, a temple, say, that's more of a heritage community, we could say, an ethnically based Buddhist community, right? So, there's another shop in Toledo. Their whole website is in Chinese. They're not particularly interested in having European descent or African descent or anybody else come around. Thanks, no. This is their space, and all good. They're preserving their culture and their food and their seasonal festivals from the home country, etc. And then, so the advantage there is you're growing up in a milieu where the Buddhist basics are understood. The problem is that they can just kind of sleepwalk through it and not really do the thing, as I would recognize it. Okay? So there's always a healthy and an unhealthy version of most polar opposites. And part of intellectual honesty is being able to recognize the yes and the no of both sides, and then being honest about it, and then saying, well, now what do I want to do? And figuring the way through to take advantage of the advantages of the good things and mitigate the downsides.
Right, right.
Yeah.
How do people who are just want to get a little experience to see whether or not this is for them, just get that foot in the door, how do they do that with you, with Buddhism? What do you suggest?
Well, I'd recommend, if you resonate with me as a teacher, this is what I do. And so if you go to the Buddhist Temple of Toledo as a website, it's there. We are creating a resource. It's nascent right now. It's a workshop we run here in person. It's called Establishing Your Buddhist Practice. And it goes through a very clear set of how to investigate this and see if you even want to do this thing. And if you do, here's how you actually do this within, as our tradition would recognize it, see. And that's a resource we're actively creating. So if somebody goes there right now, it doesn't exist, but it's going to exist very shortly. And I would encourage that, And then a further thing, if you go to the podcast, Buddhist Temple of Toledo podcast, any podcaster will have it. YouTube, Buddhist Temple of Toledo on YouTube. It's got way too much of my Zen retchings, over and over. What I would say is that if any of this talking or reading or stuff is helpful, it's only helpful because it gets you to actually practice. And so the first thing to do is learn how to sit in Zazen and start establishing a practice. You see, and then if you engage with the practice some, and it starts to resonate, well, then come visit. Think about doing a Zen retreat or something like this. It'd be helpful. And there are other places to go. There's in the West Coast, there's more, in the East Coast, there's more, in the Great Lakes and Midwest where we are, not so much. But yeah, get connected.
Well, I can vouch for the Buddhist Temple of Toledo because I've spent a total of, I think, 8 days there now.
Yeah.
Meditating and learning Zazen and studying with a great lawyer, Michael Laserman, who played a large part in putting the edifice together so that this community could be built.
That's right.
And it's an amazing place. You guys are like on this really cool bike path on one end of it.
Yeah.
And on the other side is like a bunch of really cool walking trails and forest. And
You're right.
it's a beautiful facility.
So. Yeah. We're at steps from the university, and it's really kind of magical, honestly.
It's amazing. So if anyone's out there who has a chance, if it's close enough to go or wants to take a pilgrimage do it, young people, do it. Just if that resonated at all, do it. I can't tell you. I waited until I was a little bit older in life to get into this yumminess, and it's talk about opening your heart and being able to see reality as it is. And everything becomes easier, believe it or not. Even as a trial lawyer, things are like way less scary and they're more simple. You see more clearly.
Yeah, you've had some success, to say it plainly, but with some of the training you've gotten there.
Yeah, I would say 100%. And we use it. We really do.
Beautiful.
Rinsen, thank you very much. This was a wonderful opportunity for me to have you on this Elven Star podcast. And thank you. If you like this episode, like and subscribe. Thank you.
Brought to you by Ghost the Dog Productions. Barking from the rooftops, baby. Ooh.
The Elven Star podcast is underwritten by Ferry Law.